What's up, guys? Here today to do Hunter x Hunter episode 140 review. Wow, these episodes, are really getting a lot. Already episode 140, but let's move on into this anime episode review actually. Well, you know, there's just one main theme about this episode, and that is Leorio. Leorio's rampage, Leorio's anger, Leorio's expression, his feelings, right? He is a major theme of this episode. But before I get into discussion about that, first I want to talk about the Killua and Alluka stuff. Now, when this episode first starts out, we see Killua. He is still inside the premises of his family, and he's on the phone talking with Morel, right? And he didn't outright necessarily tell Morel that he didn't outright tell Morel that he has this sibling that is able to grant any wish, but upon granting the wishes, there are supposedly inconsequential requests that will be made from the granting of this wish. He didn't outright tell him like that verbatim, what he has up his sleeve to heal Gun, but he did let him know that yes, Gun will be healed. It's just that the conditions that has to be with and whatever. And upon him saying that, Goto, one of the butlers, immediately cut the line and told him that he was infringing upon one of the conditions, that should be met, because he's now at level 4, risk 4, or something like that, but level 4, and he has 3 conditions that needs to be met apparently. So he's pissed off his father, so his father is making sure that even though he will get Alluka to heal Gun, he will do it in certain conditions that has to be met. So butlers like Goto, we see Canary traveling with them, along with this big, huge, intimidating woman called Subone, and this other girl, I forgot her name. She was with Subone as well, but Subone, man, I mean, this lady looks like she's the head honcho of all the butlers. All of them, they seem to be scared of her, and she looks like she's pretty strong. Like she could really mess up some dudes, like no joke. This lady probably knows Nen. She's probably a very strong and capable Nen user, even for someone like Killua. So I'm sure that if she wanted, she could probably kick Killua's ass. And the frightening thing that happened in this episode, right, when Subone showed up, she was at first trying to intimidate Killua, letting him know that there are certain conditions that need to be met, and anyhow he overrides his position or try to do something against the condition, she will make sure knock him out, kick him, she will kick his ass, knock him out, and make sure to take him home. And then all of a sudden we see Alluka jump in and say, no bullying, big brother, and then she's there talking with Alluka just normally as anyone would. All of a sudden Alluka says, Subone-chan, give me your pinky finger. And everyone face at that point just lit up. Everyone was absolutely surprised. They know about Alluka. All of them do. All of them know about Alluka's powers. All of them know what she is capable of. All of them know that if you don't grant her request, then you will die. So even though it's one of the more difficult requests, sort of difficult requests that we've seen get requested by Alluka, it was still able to be granted, but it's just painful in the process. So Subone, she tore off her pinky finger and gave it to Alluka, and upon knowing that the other request will be upon something of this level where it's able to be granted but it will be painful, she rightly so decides to get out of the vicinity so that Alluka wouldn't be able to grant any more requests of her, and she is safe in that sense. But she said that she would still keep an eye on Killua, make sure that he's not overriding the conditions or anything like that. She will still keep her eye on him. And upon that sequence of events happening, we see Killua saying to himself that, damn, she really did pull a fast one on them. So this has actually turned out somewhat badly for Killua, because now that the requests have been opened up by Subone, and she's taken herself out of the vicinity of Alluka so that Alluka can no longer grant her request. Things currently are sort of at a standstill. So Killua does say, in fact, that he is able to, even though the request won't be made at this point currently necessarily to hit one, but he can still imply a condition on Alluka for that to happen. So he was pissed off about that, but he realized that there's still hope, he can still do something about it. So he quickly let go of that anger and frustration that he had, and we see Alluka even ask him, why are you upset, big brother, and all that. So that was interesting. That was an interesting turn of events, and I'm sure that we will indeed see more of Subone and her intimidating presence. But I really liked that sequence of events that happened earlier in this episode. And then in the other half of this episode, we basically get to see Leorio. We haven't seen him in ages, and we haven't seen Kurapika also in ages. So it's really a welcoming sight to be able to see them, to see how they are doing. Leorio, he dressed up in this suit, so I'm guessing that he has been studying to be a medical doctor all this time. We don't necessarily know how all of that has played out for him, but he knows about Gon's condition, and he was initially trying to get through to talk to Killua about Gon's condition, but the butler Goto was there. So and he was getting pissed off at him, shouting at him and whatnot. So they decided to hand the phone over to Morel, and Morel and Goto were able to set up conditions of how things should be met for them to proceed to hit Gon, and that's going along nicely. Oh, something that I also want to add: when we see Gon's body, right? Gon's body is shrouded in this, blackness, this blackness of Nin. He's shrouded everywhere in this black Nin oozing out from his body. And when they brought in this Nin exorcist to take a look at him, she was scared to her bone. She was saying there's no way in hell that she would, want to bear this burden. This is incomprehensible, right? It is said last episode that the covenant and restriction that Gon put on himself to temporarily wield that immense amount of men that he used to defeat Pito, it put him into a state that's even worse than death. So right now he's almost untouchable, almost unsavable. In my opinion, the only person capable of even remotely doing anything to bring him back and save him is Alluka, and Killua and their part of helping Gon. But that's truly terrifying right there. Gon got into such a deep, deplorable state where he was willing to sacrifice his life, actually. So that's something to note. And then after the conditions were met, then Leorio tried contacting Kurapika, but we see Kurapika in this place holding the phone. He's not answering it, he's just sitting down staring into space. And then the scene switches back over to, I guess, the Hunter Association, and we see Leorio looking up at these buildings, right? And in the background we hear Pariston's speech going on, and we hear him giving speech. He talks about how Jin is like a troublemaker, and it's a miracle that he still considers himself to be a Zodiac, stuff like that. So he's throwing words at Jin, who is supposedly his biggest rival in these elections. And he's doing all this kind of trash talking and doing all this stuff. And then he eventually went to his seat, and upon going to his seat, the floor was open for questions, right? And the person who picked up their hand was who? Leorio. And he knows that Jin is Gon's father, so he's puzzled as to why Jin isn't there with everyone else concerned about his son's livelihood. Why isn't Jin down there at the hospital looking up on Gon, checking up on Gon, all of this? So he got to ask Jin a question, and Jin basically put him off, give him the runaround, kind of indirectly averting his questions and all that, and this really pissed him off. And it got to a point where he said, you know what, this is it. We see him display his ability, right, where he punches the ground and he uses then to create this kind of warp ability where his fist that went into the ground warps and comes up right below Jin and punches Jin in the face, knocks him over his bench. And then, we see the whole place erupt and, things got really lively right there. So that may be just what they need, the little extra push that they need to get people interested, get people involved in that one election for them to win. That was funny, to see Jin get hit in his face like that. So that was really fun. But and that's the end of the episode. But apart from that, I thought that this was a very good episode of Hunter x Hunter. I like the progression. Killua and Alluka are now on their way towards Gun, so that's progressing that and in that regards. And we see Killua being accompanied by a butler, so he's not going alone, which is also assuring, I guess. And Leorio and Kurapika are back in the fray, so that's always something good. I guess we were all wondering what happened to them, if they were just suddenly left out of the entire story, but that's not the case. They're being reintroduced back where it is relevant this time. So, I really like the turn of events. I really like what happened, and thought it was a very good episode of Hunter x Hunter. So that's it. That's my review. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Sayonara.